Cesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us. Hey girl, had a long day, you tired from work? Throw me some dollars and I'll remove my shirt. You can touch me too, these are the perks. Free yourself, lose your mind and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk, and go berserk.
Make way for the bad guy!
What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crowd Pleaser, the podcast that brings you the inside scoop on what it takes to be a male entertainer in today's age. This is going to be episode 48. And with me, I am going to be interviewing a really good friend of mine that has been in the industry for a very long time. In fact, 11 years he's been dancing and performing. He's taken down 7 strip-off titles during this time, as well as traveled the world performing his shows all across the globe. I want to welcome on the show Titan. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. If I had to tell, I'd be wagging it.
Right on, man. Right on. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to coming on the show and let the people kind of get to know a little more behind the scenes of you and how you got started and whatnot. But first things first, let's go ahead and cover our fan base. I want to thank our patrons out there at patreon.com/crowdpleaser. Much appreciated. You can donate and pledge whatever amount you like per show. And it really helps us out to get other people on the show, put out more content, promote, increase our show quality and stuff like that. You get all kinds of neat perks like behind the scenes footage of actor creation, as well as print every month, and even the full uncut versions of these podcasts. The shout out today for this episode would be Chastity Weaver. Appreciate your support. You rock. Next, I want to mention LeBear Dallas. This is my home office 5 nights a week. Operate from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. We have the best shows in Dallas, all things women. We have divorce parties, bachelorette parties, birthday parties, you name it, come out and celebrate. Titan here works at the gallery in San Antonio, brother. You want to go ahead and mention that a little bit?
Yeah, it was formerly Hard Bodies. Now they changed it into a regular bar, but featuring the men of Hard Bodies. And it's, I don't know, it's pretty amazing as far as schedules go because we only have to dance Friday and Saturday nights. And, I just, my clients and people that care about me, they come in on those set times. So it hasn't affected my income. I just have to work a lot less.
Sweet. Right on. Definitely check out the show. One last thing I want to mention is my New Year's Battle of the Sexes party going on at LeBear Dallas, December 31st. Definitely check it out and bring in all kinds of great entertainers, both male and female, to go head to head and finally settle the score and decide who's the best entertainer of them all. So definitely check it out. Couples welcome. It's going to be a fantastic time, including champagne packages as well as a balloon drop. So come out and see the show. I got aerialist, fire performers, entertainers, burlesque, you name it, I've got it. So come check it out. But all right, man, let's go ahead and cut to the chase and find out some more about you. So let's start off at the beginning. What got you into dancing?
Well, I was a college ball player and I got injured and they didn't want anything to do with me after that. And I had this big, athletic physique and I needed to make money, and Applebee's waiting tables wasn't cutting it, and my scholarships were taken away for football, and it was just really bad, and I was in a tough spot, and I just happened to be at a weird place at the right time. I was at the Alamo Quarry. It's a theater here in San Antonio, and a jacked cowboy came up to me and said I had a great look, and he'd love for me to come work with him, and I thought he was hitting on me. I thought he was gay. And so I just wrote it off, but he handed me a card, and it was, I guess, the men of Hard Bodies. And I had been doing best chess contests to try to make ends meet. I'd go out to random bars, and I'd win these little $300, $400, $500, $600 prizes at, cowboy country bars and ladies' nights and shit like that. And so I kind of had a gist of the showmanship and what women liked and wanted, and, you either have it or you don't. And I didn't know. I wasn't sure of myself at the time, but I hoped for the best and did my best, and I, worked out hard. And unfortunately, I was a little stupid, so I drank a lot. I did a lot of drugs, popped a lot of pills, done a lot of steroids. I mean, it just wasn't it wasn't a very healthy lifestyle at that age in my time. And I came into Hard Bodies, and they, the veterans were all pranking me. they'd already decided that they were going to hire me, and but they told me I had to audition, and they put me up on the stage, in this I mean, this banana hammock, and I'll never forget. I took like 5 shots of 151 so I could have the courage to get up there, and I made an ungodly amount of money, and I just haven't been able to turn it down since. And then, of course, I put all the bullshit aside with the drinking and the women, and then, I don't pay for play. I don't do drugs. I don't drink, and I literally treat it like a legitimate career, and that's why I'm successful.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a difference in entertainers over the years. The ones that kind of take it as a party and the ones that legitimately treat it as a career. So you kind of touched on a little bit at, you couldn't turn it down. What was kind of like that deciding moment or point in your career when you realized that this was going to be your career or a long-term thing for you?
When I realized that I come from nothing, I grew up in the most just terrible, unhealthy environments, and there was even a point where me and my mom lived in a car, and it was a really bad upbringing, and I had gotten a glimpse of some money that I had never seen anything like, and it gave me an opportunity to help my loved ones, and also have the freedom to do what I love to do in my free time. We're talking dancing like 19 hours a week and making what a surgeon or a doctor makes, and it just blew my mind. It's definitely a rock star type of lifestyle if you don't get sucked into the drugs and money and the sex.
Okay, okay. And so you've been in it 11 years, and there comes a point where, I mean, you're always learning, it's constantly evolving, staying with the times and things like that. How were the first couple of years that you were dancing when you were kind of drinking water through a fire hose versus, like, to say, the midpoint or the later part of your career?
Like you talking about before I became like heavily established and successfully that transitioning point.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, I've always believed in humility, and I haven't always been humble, but I looked up to a lot of guys that were successful, and and they say imitation is the biggest form of flattery, and I saw a lot of great entertainers in my time. I mean, actually, I saw the best, and these guys had it all, and they took it serious, and I watched them. I mean, it was the grandiosity, and it was just so extravagant. And I watched these guys just dance and have fun and smile and give out positive vibes, and then go home with thousands of dollars. And it just, I was in their shadows, and I was barely scraping by because I didn't have any, I didn't have very good rhythm. I've always been a very large man, and I had to learn my arena, and once I learned who I am as an individual, it kind of seeped out through Titan, and that changed everything. I crossed the line when I got sober, and I just, I crossed that line where I became a mature, business-like adult, and I took dancing serious. I put more time into my shows. I put more time into my body. I put more time into my attitude. And I learned how to be a true entertainer because I got to see the best. And the proof is in the pudding, man. You can't ignore shit like that. You see somebody doing all these things and getting certain results. I mean, it would take an idiot not to do that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you there. And when was it when, like, what was that click point where you feel like you started to come into your own and start to creep towards being one of the top entertainers, not only at your establishment, but, across the globe?
Mm, I stepped into my own league in 2011 towards the end. I'd gotten out of a really sick relationship, and I gotten out of, I hate to say it, but I got out of rehab, and I had my first, the smoke cleared. I had like a new pair of glasses, and I started dancing sober and not taking the shots from the clients and not taking the pain pills, and I just cut all the bullshit out, and I don't know what happened, but my mind, I've always been a very cerebral person, and my mind really, I was able to express the talents of my mind. I became very inventive and creative, and started applying all that into my shows and into my stage, every aspect. And also, I started to treat people like human beings. I started to treat women like women instead of money, and that also set me apart. Like, I earned, you know how they call you the crowd pleaser. A lot of people learn quick, like that big guy that looks like drama. He's actually a really cool guy, and I respect people, unless you cross me and you're a guy, and then I'll just beat the shit out of you. But as far as entertainer goes, I guess I just evolved, man, and I matured. My balls dropped. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely happens. Like, I feel like this career is one of those things where when you're going down the right path, the universe rewards you and lets you know. It makes it, as clear as it can make it. Like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how you're supposed to be doing it.
Absolutely, and I know that dancing is not my higher purpose. I know that it's a stepping stone for me. My true heart's desire has always been writing and film, and I this gave me. Uh, I learned in the universe the reason I became a dancer was it gave me a creative platform to work on and hone my skills, and while making a living for myself, because I'm not a 9 to 5er, bro. I can't do this in the office chair. I'm not a sheep, and I can't fall in line. I've always been a black sheep, a misfit, and I found my niche because I was able to perform, and the only part I ever dreaded was the getting touched for money part. But as far as I learned to put all my focus in my show and in me, as far as my efforts go, and the money and all that takes care of itself. Like you said, the universe rewards you, and it absolutely 100% does. It's one of those things where you can't cheat yourself. And I dedicated so much time and effort in an obsessive manner, but also, from a healthy aspect, nothing negative. And I got beyond rewarded. I think in my in my time as an entertainer, I can't. I honestly, I mean, call it ego, but I don't know of anybody that's um, just the accolades, the money, and everything that I've experienced and received as a male dancer. I mean, if I were to go off the list, it's just fucking mind blowing. It really is.
You did mention the fact that you are able to potentially create your own shows and get that escape, kind of the release, I should be, of creativity and stuff like that, which is something I can relate to very much. So we both enjoy being able to take that creativity, our innovation and stuff, and apply it at the speed and rate that we want with very little restrictions. Um, Obviously we want to put the best foot forward and best show that we can, and sometimes we have to try and error that. But so some what are some of the your favorite shows that you've created over the years?
Oh well, there's my favorite shows, and then there's the crowd's favorite shows, and I learned that I had to establish boundaries. I know a lot of guys come on stage and listen to music that they like when they're smoking weed or sitting on the couch, and women just stare at them funny. And then, there's me. I dance to music that I love and I grew up listening to and working on cars and, fucking off. And so I kind of incorporated my personality into my shows, and I did that by creating an avenue of things I enjoyed into my shows. For instance, I love Heath Ledger's depiction as a Joker, so I didn't care about his relevancy or anything like that. I did a Joker act, and I won the strip off, and I didn't care about the trophy or the money or anything like that. I just wanted to perform and do something I enjoyed, and like you said, the universe rewarded me. I personally uh, did a lot of shows in my time. I've probably made at least 100 shows. I mean, who knows? But a lot of them I didn't enjoy. A lot of shows I did because I didn't know any better, or because of how I thought the crowd would receive me. And when I stepped into the realm of possibility and I started believing in myself and doing what I wanted to do, that's when it was a fucking, I mean, sorry, it was a game changer. And it really set me apart. I stopped being afraid to be myself. I stopped playing the bubblegum bullshit music on the radio because it's popular and everybody wants to hear it. I started playing the shit I love, you know, the Kurt Cobain, the Gavin Osdell, the Foo Fighters, the, System of a Down. I could go on and on and on ad infinitum, you know.
Yeah. And do you feel do you feel it not only made it more comfortable for you on stage, but people were able to kind of resonate with you a little bit better? Or, I mean, or was it just, it is what it is, what came to it, came to it?
Oh, I definitely touched a lot of people's lives in a positive way. A lot of people would come up to me and and reflect on the music I played or the show that I did, or they would just notice my effort and talent, and they're very kind about it, and I think that it's kind of a elephant in the room, like a silent sign when people know that you're being true to yourself. And when I started doing things, you can't hide the fact that you're enjoying what you're doing. No, I don't care who you are. Like anybody can tell when somebody's doing something they don't like that they're doing. And with me, when I started doing what I like to do and started expressing myself as an individual and as an intellect, it really did. It set me apart because I became the unicorn. I became the anomaly. I became the dragon. Like, just I step into the room and I don't match the quota. I was just way it's just in another dimension, and they took it they took it very positively because they could see and respect that this dude is not afraid to be himself. I mean, look at this crazy shit, because everybody's up there looking pretty and tan and dancing to reggaeton and whatever's popular on the radio and little, Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne, whatever's cool, and I don't care. I did what I wanted to do, and that's why I was always like ridiculously successful.
And do you feel like your comfort of being yourself on stage kind of helped people, that ladies that were in there that may or may not have been the most comfortable with themselves, feel a little more quote unquote accepted?
Oh, I definitely think that that kind of vibration spills over into the audience because when I'm smiling and I'm emanating such such good vibration, such good energy, my aura, everything screams. Well, I don't have to say a fucking word, and people just they come up to you and it's like when you speak from the heart, you give other people permission to speak from the heart. And when I dance and I'm not worried about people's opinions of me and I'm not feeling insecure and worried about like, oh, that table looked like they didn't like me, the faces they're making. When I close myself off and I stop subjecting myself to the opinions of the audience, I can really spread my wings and be myself. And when I do that, people they ride the wave. They come up, they're happy too, they're smiling, and absolutely it gives them permission to feel more secure. That's 100% based on my experience.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a give and take. By you creating that, they throw positive vibes back at you, and thus it just makes for a happier cohesion between the crowd and the audience and you, and just the kind of evening y'all are having. So the flip side to that, what are some of your least favorite things about dancing over the years? You had mentioned, having people come in such close proximity and contact with you. Is that pretty much the main one, or are there some other factors that you wish you could change and stuff like that, or just it's part of the business, but you're not a fan of it?
Well, if I'm completely honest, when I was younger, I was diagnosed with autism, and my triggers have always been bright lights, loud noises, sudden noises, and being touched against my invitation. And in male dancing, you get a plethora of all those things, and very consistently. And I learned how to, well, on top of the medication, I learned how to be present, and I think I learned how to turn into Titan and subtract shame. And I did a pretty good job of it, but like I've had the most worst, terrible things happen to me. Women, to me, they just defy gravity with how nasty they can be. I've never seen anything like it. I've been working for women for over a decade, and they still blow my mind when they're drinking. There's nothing they haven't said to me. There's nothing they haven't tried to do. I've had them try to pull my dick out. I've had them stick their finger in my butt. I mean, I've had them grab my underwear, pull it down. I've had them stick $1 in my underwear and then reach down and grab my dick and balls. Like, it's insane. I've had them bite me. I literally had to go get stitches because they thought it's sexy to bite me, and I just flinched and I freaked out and accidentally slapped her out, and their friends wanted to get all upset, acting like I assaulted her, and I'm like bleeding from my back. I've had my butt bit. I've had them try to suck my fingers. I've had the worst to me is dancing for a woman with poor hygiene. A woman with halitosis, where her breath is like dragons punching me in the face, or when they don't take care of themselves in their genitalia, in their groin area, and that smell starts to, oh God, I don't even want to. Or like girls that don't shower, and then want to touch me, and I can feel their like just, oh my God, it's like a ooze, like sweat and just body fluid of just disgust. I don't know, man. I don't know who raised some of the people that come in the strip clubs, but it ain't pretty. And having to dance for them in intimate quarters, like, there's no bigger nightmare. And I grew up very, very violent, and I've had, when women touch me against my invitation or without me knowing, I get pretty freaked out and upset, and just like you, like poking the bear. And I don't walk up to women, female entertainers, and put my finger in their butt while they're turned around. Like, who does that? You know what I mean? And if it were a guy, I would have broke their jaw in numerous places. And I have done that before. But girls, they just don't. They have a sense of entitlement. Women, where like I've had women come up and hold up $1, and I'm there in my underwear dancing or spinning fire or doing flips on silks, and then have the audacity to tell me, well, what are you going to do for this dollar? And just like, well, obviously you need it more than I do. Why don't you go ahead and keep your fucking dollar? And then I've had women tell me, you should buy me a drink, or you should do this for me. Just a lot of false entitlement. I've had some really nasty run-ins with a lot of egos, and I just have to bring them down a notch. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm very direct, I'm very honest, and I'm very open. Like, I call it like it is. I call it like I see it, and I'm very confident with what I say because I think before I speak. And so when I'm treated in an ill manner. I wreck shop. I'm not afraid to answer back or clap back. And I tend to focus more on the positive. I started to realize that when women are hateful or nasty or destructive, that it's not so much about me, it's more about what they're going through, and I try to practice a little bit of empathy.
Yeah, I've heard similar things from both male and females entertainers, where females can sometimes be the worst people in the club that evening on a regular basis. And it's like you said, I think part of it is just the fact that I don't know, they just rarely get to cut loose. I guess they kind of overdo it when the time is right, or they feel pseudo comfortable, or just liquid courage kicks in. And I do also understand what you're talking about, where sometimes it's very easy to, for lack of a better term, kind of point the finger at somebody else, like, hey, you're doing this wrong, or this is blah, blah, blah. But occasionally you don't have the entire story, and you never know, especially you having a harsher background and upbringing. Like, you can kind of understand that sometimes, where something that's a certain way on the surface may be that way because of some underlying root, you know what I mean? And so you kind of, like you said, have to have a little bit of empathy. But I agree with you. Hygiene is a big thing for me as well. When someone has either bad BO or bad breath or some type of hygiene thing, and part of it could be just the fact that because of the nature of our business, we work in such close proximity to people that it's like, look, like, we do our part to make sure we're fit for being this close to someone. It'd be greatly appreciated if they kind of reciprocated that effort and stuff. So yeah, very true, man, very true. Moving forward, you've kind of you've seen a lot in your time, and you've learned a lot about yourself as well as other people and social dynamics and things like that. What are some pointers or advice you'd give up and coming entertainers in the industry?
Okay. If I had to look them right in the eyes, I would tell them, um, close yourself off to the opinions of others right away. Don't subject yourself to the audience. Know your value. Stay confident and stay true to yourself. Um, a lot of, I'd say 90% of the new dancers that come in are stuck in front of mirrors, obsessing about their image or what they look like, and they totally forget about the fun part, the making money part, and the entertaining part. And they're more worried about their character defects or their physical defects. And it's just a waste of time and energy. And I see a lot of dancers get weaned out that are very handsome, jacked, phenomenal, the most pretty boys, the American dreams. I've seen them get weaned out because they're on a side stage and a group of women didn't tip them. It's just, it all boils down to ego. It's like when I step out there, I don't even make eye contact. I smile, I do me. Somebody talks to me, I speak back. But I come out there like a warrior that just finished winning a fight. My chest is open. I'm open to, all the positive energy in the room, and I shut myself out of the negative bullshit. Like I just cut it out. I have blinders, and I learned that if I know I'm a rock star and I believe I'm a rock star and I know what I'm working with, they somehow, it's like a metaphysical thing. They believe it, convinces them. They jump on the wagon and just reaffirming what your truth. And I would tell a new dancer to give it 6 months of consistency and be confident, be yourself, be hygienic, take really good care of yourself, and do the best that you possibly can. And if after that time period or that little trial and error, you still feel like it's something that's not for you, then hey, maybe it's not. It's not for everybody. There's a reason there's only 7 of us or 10 of us in San Antonio, and there's like 5 million people in this city. There's a reason for that. It takes a very, very elite mind and body, and to have everything it takes to be an entertainer is to me kind of like one of the most difficult positions to fill. I mean, you got to have the mental aptitude, you have to have the mental attitude, you have to have the confidence, you have to have the body, you got to have the hygiene, you got to have the schedule, you got to have the belief system. I mean, it's insane. It's like an entire reconditioning.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It definitely, that's great advice because it's one, like you said, it's one of the easiest ways that we lose guys initially, where they go in there and they're used to being the life of the party or being popular or something like that, and then they go to a place where they're not that, and
Exactly.
it ends up being such a culture shock, for lack of a better term, that they just can't cut it. And I agree with you. Like for longevity, you have to kind of put up some walls and thicken your skin, so those micro interactions that you have, whether they're direct or indirect, don't wear you out, because they will. Like, I mean, everybody's human, and it's just the nature of it. um, but so you touched on it a little bit, like you don't make eye contact at all. How do you feel? Like, is that just because it fits your kind of thing? Is that a tool that you use, or do you feel like it's not really necessary for guys on stage to kind of have that kind of a connection with their audience?
I've seen a lot of entertainers that are very. See, the problem with me is I'm an introvert, 100%. But when I become Titan, I become an ambivert. Okay, and I've seen a lot of dancers that are extroverted. They go out there and they just love it. They talk to every girl that comes by. They smile. They hug. They just have a blast. They are in their element. They are a fish in water. With me, I have to create an entire false reality. I got to become the persona. And Titan is kind of a douchebag. Like, I'm very blunt and direct. I don't do that pay me after the dance shit. I don't do that, free this, free that. I'm there to make money, and it screams. I don't play any of that. But honestly, um as an entertainer, the reason I don't make eye contact is because of my intelligence. Unfortunately, when I see somebody's expression, I immediately become affected by it. I start to open myself to their opinion. If they're not smiling, if they're staring at me a certain way, the fixture of their mouth. They're whispering to their girlfriend. I'm thinking they're saying something negative or nasty, and then it shuts down my entire show mentally, and then I collapse like Jenga. It just takes all my squares away. And I learned if I don't make eye contact and I have a fun and I smile and I stay in my own world, that they just try to become a part of it.
Right on, man. Yeah, I could totally understand. I Yeah, I feel you on that. I'm on both sides. I understand that sometimes you just get worn out from social interactions, especially when you have an introverted personality. It does wear on you quite a bit, as well as like what you just talked about, where if you do see someone on their phone or talking to their friend, it's kind of like when you're a perfectionist and hard worker, you want to put your best foot forward. You immediately question it. It's not like, oh, they're on their phone because they're talking to someone or anything like that. It's like, why am I not entertaining enough? Is my show boring you, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and it wears you out. Like, it might not even be the case, but it just does. It wears you out. Or when ladies decide that it's time to go when you're on stage, you can't help but feel like, okay, it was my show that boring that you decided to leave when I was on stage versus being excited and staying.
Oof.
Sweet, man. So let's step outside the club a little bit if we can. And you recently were a part of a movie. In fact, a major role. You were the muscle behind it, so to speak. And you were. It's one, like you mentioned, it's one of your dreams to kind of push into uh, acting and expressing yourself in other manners. Let's talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind. Like, how did it
Okay.
come about, and what role did you play, and did you enjoy it, and stuff like that?
Well, as a dancer, I've always had an ulterior motive. And it's also been parallel to dancing because here I am working in a business where you have to be uh, physically almost immaculate in order to survive and thrive. And secretly, when women and friends and coworkers were thinking, oh, Titan is just trying to make more money or look a certain way so he can make money, I was building my dream physique. And there's a lot of years where I masked and I stayed really thick and I didn't have all these sunk in abs. And I didn't care what anybody thought because my money never changed because of my belief system and my attitude. I practiced what I preach. And I was building in my own selfish ways, building a physique. I wanted to be 6'5", 300 and some pounds, and lean. And unfortunately, to do that, it takes a lot of dedication, time, persistence, and food and money. And so when I'd have some, 200-pound pretty boy with abs and a tan tell me about, oh, why aren't I ripped or why aren't I this? And they don't know my heart, my true heart's desire. I know what the fuck I'm working towards. And I know that when I get there, it'll all be worth it, but it's a long, long road to become my size. Originally I was about 6'3.5". I got out of high school and weighed 185. And then I built these massive tree trunk legs and shoulders broadened out. My skeletal system just, I don't know, it just shot through the roof. And I just, dude, oh my God, I busted my ass so hard because I wanted to be the guy in a movie that looked like a monster but had an intellect, signs of intelligent life, and there's too many tool bags that just get thrown in as a big meathead. And I know that because I just got one of my first big roles was as the big warrior meathead. And I couldn't stand the fact that I had to pretend to be stupid and brawn and macho machismo bullshit. But I did it because that's what the character in the role called for. And my true heart's desire is the silver screen, but it's also writing. And I've published two of my screenplays that I love, and
Oh,
I
that's
had a lot of
fantastic.
yeah. And I'm officially I'm patent everything. I actually I follow through with my stuff, man, because I believe that dreams that we have within us are put there. It's not just something we try to find and stumble across. They're there within us, and it's a matter of uncovering them. It's not an accident. LeBron James is who he is. He was made to be LeBron James. You would not walk into McDonald's and see him as your cashier. And like that's why I love Infinity Wars, Avengers in the beginning when Thanos talks about run from it, dread it. Destiny comes all the same. And I really do reinforce that. And I believe that my 20s and my time dancing was a platform for me to simultaneously build what I've been building and built for movies and film, and it's proving success. I've landed two major roles in actual major films that you can watch on Netflix, Amazon, Voodoo, I guess it is, all that shit, and the proof is in the pudding. I always wanted to be able to Google myself, and I didn't even ask for that. I just hoped for best, and because being an entertainer, especially on that platform, is like a diamond in the dirt. It's almost impossible. It's like literally an anomaly. And I'm doing it, and I'm in the middle of a huge audition right now that's looking really positive, and it's going to be a huge life changer if I get this role. And so I'm just trying to stay humble, not obsess about it or sabotage, and I'm taking it a day at a time. I go to work. I'm still a dancer, so I treat people the same. I'll never be on a high horse. I just can't. Not from where I come from.
Do you want to talk about that role that you're auditioning for, or no? You want to keep it under wraps till you get confirmation?
Um, all I'm allowed to say is it's pretty much like the largest TV network on the TV, and they're offering my own show, where I would be the host. I'd be the one, and it would be me and my creativity and cars. American muscle and cars have always been my shindig. It's what as a dancer, I've built so many hot rods and cars, and it's just where I like to unwind. It's how I like to unwind. Motorcycles, cars, trucks. It's just my cup of tea, and I potentially might have a show where I get to exploit those things.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. I'm super excited for you. I hope it works out. I don't see why it wouldn't. It just, like we were talking about, it seems like the universe is kind of letting you know, like, hey, this is the path you're supposed to take. So, um, yeah, man, I'm stoked. I think it's going to work out really well. And I'm excited to see how it works out for you specifically. And it's nice that it's kind of having that snowball effect where you land a role that you might not necessarily like the character, but hey, that's what acting is. You got to do sometimes those things. But it kind of, catapulted you into other roles, and now you're getting closer and closer to the type of things you actually want to do.
My opus magnum,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm not going to get my hopes up about this audition. They've been contacting me with a whole bunch of positive feedback, and and I've been let down too many times because big roles. It's just such a competitive field, and I feel like whatever's mine, I can't lose. If it's mine by right of consciousness, you can't lose what's rightfully yours. And if it's my role and it's my part, then I can't fuck it up. And so I just reinforce that. I believe that no matter what happens with this audition, and no matter how good it's going, I've had them pull the carpet out from under me. So I don't count my blessings before and I don't count my chickens before they hatch. I just say, you know what, this is what's going on with me. I hope for the best, and I expect the worst.
That's a solid mentality to have, man. I mean, it really is. Like you said, I've been approached for auditions several times myself for specific roles and things like that, and sometimes they like me, sometimes they don't, but they always have that chance of falling through and stuff like that. So I think it's smart of you to kind of, like you said, not necessarily stress about it. What's going to happen is going to happen. Sweet, man. That is pretty much a show. Those are all the questions I had today for you, which I think is great, man. I think the audience learned definitely a lot about your journey and quest, so to speak, to achieve your dreams and goals, which is pretty exciting, really. Like the path you've taken is so unique, I feel, that it just shows the diversity and all the things that come of this industry and the people you meet and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to open up for me and the audience a lot.
Absolutely.
Which, so moving on, we will end the show. I typically end the show with a best and worst events of the week, just to kind of let people know the kind of trials and tribulations we go through, both positive and negative, and keep us in the industry and just in life in general. So, I'll cover the first one. We'll go into our less than best, our worst events of the week, and then we'll go into our best ones. And for me, mine actually is outside the club. I recently started teaching aerials, primarily aerial silks, at a studio that just decided I started to take a couple classes there, and they saw me kind of instructing other students and things like that at times, and they asked me if I wanted to teach. And so, after a long debate and stuff, I figured I was okay to teach entry level stuff that I felt confident and, proficient at. And this last week was the first time I had my first quote bad student, and it wasn't necessarily that she was bad per se. It was just slightly frustrating because of the amount of time it took for me to instruct her versus the rest of the class. And typically these classes have somewhere between 7 to 10 students, and so I like to try to give everyone their due attention and not shortchange anyone else. But this lady, one of the basic climbs that we teach, it just wrapping her leg around the fabric the correct way was blowing her mind. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It took her about 40 minutes to get the leg wrapped the correct way. And it was over that course probably about 11 times where I had to tell her, correct her as far as just wrapping her leg in the correct direction. And it just blew my mind away of the amount of, like, how it didn't register. I explained it to her 4 different times. I showed it to her. I demonstrated with her. I talked her through it, and it just never clicked in her head. And the thing that I found surprising is that she ended up absolutely loving the class, asking the admin person if they could sign up for more classes when I was teaching again. And they even took a picture of them kind of just Tarzaning off the silks for their children. And it was so interesting to me at the end of that, because I was like, man, she's not gonna like class because she doesn't have the strength to hold herself up. When she finally got a foot lock, it hurt her feet. I mean, it was just, to me, a disaster. And she actually had the time of her life. So I just thought it wasn't that horrible. It was just a little frustrating for me because of the fact that I felt like I wasn't giving her the proper instruction, and it also took away from the rest of the class. But yeah, that was kind of my thing. Not really inside the club, but sometimes it happens. How about you, brother?
Um, is this recent, basically?
Yeah.
Like, you want me? The love of my life that I raised, my dog, his name was Luke Skywalker, and his twin sister Leia Skywalker, and I got them as twins. They're Old English Mastiffs from a champion bloodline, and I raised them. They were born December 3rd, 2012, and they've been by my side, like, the most unconditional, loving, and just the most incredibly close and intrinsic um, friends I've ever had. They could read me, speak to me, and they were just so highly trained and protective, and they were dream dogs. And I went to the beach, and I took them to the beach for their first time, and my boy, he's got to be like 7 foot. He's just an absolute monster. He's like a small horse, and he's about 300 pounds. He wouldn't stop drinking the salt water, and I didn't catch on soon enough, and he had a heat stroke. And a lot of people came together on GoFundMe to help me try to save him with the vet, because I didn't know what was going on. They kept giving me hope. The vet was like, "Oh yes, it is possible for him to survive, but we need lots of fluids and time." And I just said, "Do it." And whatever they asked, I did it. I paid with every penny that everybody gave me. It was thousands, and I showed up, and he's still having seizures, nonstop tremors, and I had to pull the plug, and they asked me to do it myself, and inject the fluid and first put him to sleep and then stop his heart. And I just haven't had to deal with something so horrible and angering and painful and since I lost my ex in high school. I haven't felt that kind of pain, and I just been really butthurt, and I've been going to the beach where I lost him, and just trying to pay my respects. And I got his ashes, and I got a little urn on my neck, and a lot of people, had a lot of fucked up shit to say about dogs, like, it's a dog, get another one, and and I just wanted to cyber knock their teeth out. They would never say something like that to my face. I would rip their skull apart, and I just I didn't take it well, and a lot of people came together and were very loving and supportive. And that was my son. He was literally like my kid. I prefer my dogs over most people, and I don't care. They have souls, and they're very, very highly evolved, intelligent creatures. And no matter what kind of day you have, what you've done, what you've said, where you've been, you come home and the dogs are just, all out of their fucking mind. I love you so much. They're just going crazy. And you can't buy that kind of love. Like humans, we come home and like, where you been? Why haven't you texted me back? Or, what's up, bro? I'm late on rent. Or, just bullshit. With dogs, though, and I learned that those are my companions, man, my best friend. And when I lost my boy after 6 years of spending every day together, and yeah, it had a really horrible impact on me. And I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, I think those people that were essentially, cyber hating on you, just they don't understand that these animals are family. You know what I mean? Like when you have someone for as long as you've had them and just share that kind of relationship, it's a lot more than just some dumb animal that hangs out at the house that you have to feed, you know?
It's not even, yeah, any, I'm sorry, but a living creature is a living creature. And there's just some magic there that's making them tick. And to be touched with that kind of impact and love, to try to write it off or play it down. I just think that they're very unintelligent humans that just aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, and obviously have their own anger and psychological issues. Like original, a lot of symptoms of a psychopath early on is they're torturing and hurting or burning of animals. And some people just don't get it, man. And I can't make them have that experience, nor do I care. But don't go out of your way to try to influence me with your trash. I see right through it. I've always been an intellect. I pride myself in the level of information and knowledge that I've obtained in my time. And I've had a lot of relationships, sick and healthy, and my dogs have always been the one consistent healthy.
Yeah. No, man, it's crazy, dude. Like you said, I mean, you just were sitting there having a good time at the beach and just missed that one detail until and who would, like dogs are gonna play in the beach, they go play in the water, unless you sit there and keep that sharp eye, and even then, it could still slip. So I have sympathy for you, man. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. And I lost my vision in my eye. My optic nerve was separated, so I have a huge scar on my face now, and I can't see out of my left eye. So that's the other thing, I guess.
No kidding, like full like zero vision now.
Yeah, gone.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh wow. How's it affecting your motor skills?
And I bump into shit a lot. My body and my car, as I'm taking a lot of getting used to. I haven't been the most um, peripherally inclined person lately. It's getting used to not having a left side, turning my face to see things. It's just it's a habit. I got to build the habit. And they say like when you lose certain senses, others increase. My right eye has become a like Eagle Scout, and I'm more mad about the fact that I can't see anything, and I have this huge scar down my face. The idiots come up and ask if it's a tattoo or if I did it myself, as if I would put a massive Nile River down my face perfectly over my eye and blind myself. Like I just don't know what kind of drugs people are doing, but I've had a lot of people ask me about scarification, about tattoo, and I just got sick of answering. I just say, you know what? I'd rather not talk about it. It was from a traumatic experience.
Man, that's crazy. I really can't believe that I mean, I guess I can. Like nothing surprises me nowadays, but it's still a little insane that people like come up to you and ask you like that about I don't know.
What's really messed up about our society that I kind of realize is that I get approached by way more women. They like the damaged bad boy look. I don't know who raised these women. And then I have a lot of guys go out of their way to tell me how badass it is and that it's epic and that they wish they had one. And I'm just like, dude, there's guys that that want to be badass, and then there's the guys that are badass. And I feel like the people that are living it um, have a totally different outlook, and my outlook is not like any of that is cool. I miss my left eye. I would take this scar off in this keloided area that I have this heap of skin, and this huge indentation. You literally run water down a channel from the top of my forehead on my scalp to my cheek, and it sucks. And people think it's amazing and cool and love it, and women go crazy over it, and they're like, "Oh, he's such a badass, and he's so jaded. Oh man, I want to have sex with him." And I'm just like, man, what? Oh my God, what kind of mental condition are you in? And I just try to respect women as much as I can, but it's hard. And I remind myself that every woman is someone's daughter, sister, or mother. And when I think about that, I try to take it easy on them. But I definitely don't want my daughter around guys like me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you kind of think about it that way. When you look at the big picture of things, it's kind of like you're the person in the middle of it, but when you step back and kind of see it, you're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. But trust me, because no one knows you better than you, and you've been in the middle of everything. So it's like when you see people kind of take this look that you yourself can't even like put logic to it. It is a little interesting to say the least. Well, all right, brother. I think that about does it, man. So, once again, really appreciate you being on the show. Like, you definitely didn't hold back anything, and I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot of things from this. And hopefully you get some good vibes and feedback from it, man. I really hope the right person listens to it, kind of puts you in contact with maybe another show or something else that just keeps kind of snowballing that good favor and fortune that your hard work has put forth.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I don't subject myself to the opinions of others. I don't do well with comments, feedback of any kind, because it just pollutes my mind. I'm way too obsessive, and my autism goes crazy. So basically, if any opportunities that are positive arrive, I'm sure they'll be in contact with my agent. Other than that, I do not go and read blogs and feedback, because somebody will say something that'll trigger me or upset me, or I'll take it wrong. And I learned that it's best to just keep my head in the clouds.
Gotcha. Right on. With that being said, do you want to put the contact, like email or something for your agent on here, or no?
That's fine. Her name is Cindy Twelt with Entourage Agency, San Antonio.
Awesome. Sweet. We'll definitely check that out. If you are listening and you come to find out that you need another phenomenal actor for any show that you got coming up, or even some screenwriting, definitely contact through his agent. But all right, T, once again, man, really appreciate you being on the show. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your day for it. It means a lot to me, and I think people are really going to enjoy this show.
Yeah, you're my boy, dude. You need anything, you just let me know.
Will do, man. All right, brother. So until that next time, keep bringing the rain.
I am focused, I'm in my zone. You can binge watch like Game of Thrones. Reserve your judgments, don't throw no stones. Who's and I scream as loud as you go. Airplane mode on tablets and phones. Caesar's crowd pleasers is now on. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. If you need to pick me up, ladies, we gon' change your demeanor. Caesar, the crowd pleaser. We gon' do a little dance, we gon' make the naysayers believe us.